Okay, Fire Officer Level 1, Chapter 2 in your book, Fire Officer Principles and Practices, 4th edition from Jones and Bartlett. Again, I don't like to teach to the book, to the test. I'm just going to bring out some information I think is very important for you, the new fire officer. This chapter, it does have some good information, Chapter 2. I would urge you to really read through it. Again, if you're taking this for the state test, I really don't know what the questions are going to be. So it's incumbent upon you to read the book. All right, so understanding leadership and management theories. So leadership traits. In Jones and Bartlett, they put some leadership traits in there that I thought were pretty good. All right, so the trait approach. So traits of leaders: intelligence, confidence, determination, integrity, sociability. So in a leader, we're looking for somebody that hopefully has some intelligence, is smart, common sense, right? Confidence. They're confident in themselves. They're confident in their actions. They can make decisions. All right. They're determined. They have integrity. That means they do the right thing when nobody's watching. Basic definition of integrity. Sociability. They're socially functional people that pretty much can get along with everybody. They have a good attitude. So that would be the trait approach as defined in Jones and Bartlett's textbook. Now the skills approach focuses on the leader's skills. Again, so what do you bring to the table as a new fire officer? What kind of skills do you have? If you have weaknesses, again, it's incumbent upon you to work on your weaknesses, because you can't fool your people. They know your strengths, they know your weaknesses, because again, remember, you've been part of that department and for however many number of years. You've been riding in the back with the guys, and now all of a sudden you're going to be riding up front and giving orders. So you can't fool anybody. So know your job. I always say know your job. The behavioral approach focuses on the leader, what the leader does, and how he or she acts. All right. Again, how are you cool, calm, and collected under stress? Do you fly off the handle, scream and yell, have a short fuse, or do you approach things coolly, calmly, logically? That type, that sense of action. All right, so that's the behavioral approach. So leadership in the volunteer fire service. All right, so issues facing volunteer fire officers, and again, I think majority of people that are taking this class are in the volunteer ranks. And again, fire doesn't know any difference. All right, it's an indiscriminate killer, whether you're a career or volunteer. So when we talk about issues facing volunteer fire officers, a lot of times we deal with members and their employment or family commitments. You could get good firefighters. They have employee issues. They employment issues. They all of a sudden change jobs. They get a promotion. They're no longer available the way they used to be available, or they may have to move to other parts of the estate for their job, and so you lose these members that you put a lot of time in, that have put a lot of time in. Family constraints. You get a new member that all of a sudden, him and his wife, they have a child. Now there's child care issues. There's commitments that they have to make based on employment and taking care of children. There may be issues with older members and older parents that have to take care of older parents, or even health issues in the family that they can no longer put the time in the fire service. So these are things that you face as a fire officer within your ranks. One of the other things is extensive training requirements that can impact volunteer availability. I mean, right now we have a new member coming in. You're probably looking at 5 months of basic training for firefighter 1 and 2 at the fire academy. 2 nights a week, maybe every other or every third Saturday or Sunday. That is a big commitment. I don't know if I would be able to make that commitment right now with if I was a new person coming in. It's a lot. So these people that stick it out, they're really dedicated, and they really should get a pat on the back from you as their officer, because it's a lot of time on them, and a lot of time on their families to try to get through this training. And then once you get through the training, there's always ongoing training. You have to constantly train, right? There's a saying out there, training is everything, everything is training. So anytime you can find an opportunity to do some training, you need to do it. And it could be simple as you go out on a fire alarm, bring the crew in for real quick familiarization of the building, 5-10 minutes, as a quick drill. So you need to train, and you need to find opportunities to give training to your members. And then we have interpersonal conflicts. It can affect members and firehouse morale, right? You get a one bad apple in there that can be a cancer among the members and draws everybody down. So you need to watch out for that, and hopefully you're not that bad apple or that cancer that's bringing morale down. So those are some of the issues that face volunteer fire officers. I do like this chapter because they did put in the Marine Corps leadership principles, and being a former Marine, I'm really into that, and I'll show you why in a couple seconds. So they're using the 14 leadership traits, and you can see them on the right in this depiction: justice, judgment, dependability, integrity, decisiveness, tact, initiative, enthusiasm, bearing, unselfishness, courage, knowledge, loyalty, and endurance. All traits of one of the greatest military services in the world. So, and if anybody, any other service is out there that's watching this, sorry. All right, so one thing is, be technically and tactically proficient, right? Know your job before you try to lead. Again, you can't BS your way with your members. They know you, they know what you can do, because again, you've been hanging out with them for quite a while before you became their officer. So in most departments, so know your job before you try to lead your personnel. Okay, know yourself and seek self-improvement. Again, training. You never stop learning. Go the extra mile. Read books. Look for seminars that may be local. See what kind of training budget you have. Can the department send you for a weekend to go and learn something? But again, never stop seeking self-improvement. A biggie: know your people and look out for their welfare. Right? Your firefighters come first. Going back to the Marine Corps leadership principles, all right? There was a thing that said officers eat last. So this means that if you were an officer or you were a senior NCO, and it came time for chow, and your men got into the chow line first. So a lot of times in combat zones, there may be a limited amount of food. The officer, the senior NCOs, let the men go first, and if there was no food left at the end, well, you know what, then the officer just didn't eat that night. But that's a sign of leadership and taking care of your people, putting them first, taking care of their welfare. This is a great book. I think it's still available. 30 Management Principles of the United States Marines, written by David Freeman. All right. It's a excellent book that basically hits on management, and it's a great read, and it depicts management principles that you can start using from the time you start reading the book. So I would encourage any upcoming officers to, if you can get a copy of this, by all means get a copy of it and just read it for the management principles and try to apply what's in there. Another big thing is keep your firefighters informed. Information stops rumors, and always be honest. If you don't know, tell them you don't know. Don't make stuff up. And again, if you hear rumors, you got to try to squash them right away. But again, keep your firefighters informed. If your guys don't feel like they're informed, they're going to end up coming up with all kind of conspiracy theories, and it's just going to cause problems. And you set the example. Again, we talked about talk the talk, walk the walk. You lead the way. All right. Again, you can't BS your personnel. They know you. They know if you're full of it. So again, you set the example. Make sure assigned tasks are understood, supervised, and accomplished. All right. There is a great book out there. It's called The Mission, the Men, and Me. All right. So the way this should play out is the mission comes first. The men, and when we say men, we include men and women, right? Your people. So the mission comes first, your people come second, and you come last. Okay. Again, going back to officers eat last. That's the way it's got to be. And if you play by those rules, you'll definitely get a lot of respect as a. And we talk about leadership principles. Again, if you look at the poster on the right, know yourself and seek self-improvement. We talked about that. Be technically proficient. The welfare of your people, keep them informed, set the example, train as a team. So I like to employ small unit or company training. Right. So when you do training, and again, it's you as the officer are most likely going to be tasked with doing training. If you can employ small unit or company training, really nobody can hide. So if you go out on a drill and you have 4 or 5 members and you're doing some type of extrication drill, rescue drill, rope rescue drill, whatever, they can't fade into the background. They have to step up and they have to perform. And this is where you're going to see, the people that know what they're doing, or the people that only talk about it. And it's a great time to get them one-on-one training. If they are technically not proficient in something, having such a small group, you can spend time with that person and give them the hands-on mentoring that they need, so they can improve themselves. So if you improve your members, you improve your company. Make sound and timely decisions. All right. Hesitation or reluctance to make decision erodes your people's confidence in you. This is a biggie. We talk about the management principles of the Marines that we just showed that book. One of the things is a lot of times you have to make decisions with insufficient information. You can't, many times, especially under firefighting conditions, under emergency conditions, you can't wait to get all the information in before you make a decision. If you wait till you get all the information in, that emergency has passed you by, and you're going to be playing catch up for the rest of the incident. So you may have to make decisions with fragmented or partial information, but you're making decisions. I'd rather have somebody make a decision and it'd be a wrong decision, but he made it because he was using the information that he had versus not making the decision at all. So make sound and timely decisions, but make a decision. All right. Develop responsibility among your people. Give your firefighters the opportunity to succeed. So don't be afraid to give them a job, give them a responsibility, and say, all right, I need you to do this for me. All right, and then just then report back to me. We'll talk about this in a second, delegation of authority. But if you can get your people involved, again, they may want to do things, and if you hold them down, it's not a good thing. Let them get involved. They want to show what they know. All right, they want to show off to you. They want to show off to the other members that, hey, I can do this. I know how to do something, and it's a source of pride, for that member. So when we talk about leadership principles, we employ your command in accordance with its capabilities. So what that means is, don't put your people in situations that they are not trained for. So if you're now doing extrications, and you got some new people and they're going to be riding out on the apparatus to an extrication, you need to get them out there and get them trained. Right? So when they show up, they don't look like fools, and they don't hurt anybody. Remember, when they call us, many times there's nobody else coming. They're calling us because there's an emergency, and we are the people that are supposed to show up and make everything better. So, if we don't know what we're doing, that's going to really, worst case scenario, it's going to hurt somebody or kill somebody. Best case scenario, it's going to ruin our credibility, and it doesn't take a lot to ruin your credibility. You're only as good as your last job. So don't put your people in situations that they aren't trained for. So if you have situations that you think you may be getting involved in, you need to step up your training and get out there and train for those situations. You need to seek responsibility and take responsibility for your actions. So seek out challenges to improve yourself. Again, is there some type of a training program that's going to be coming up next month somewhere that you may have to travel to? See if your department will pay for it. If your department won't pay for it, you know what? Many years, myself and some of my other firefighting buddies, we traveled on weekends to go to training seminars, and many times we paid for it ourselves. But we were just into the job and we wanted to get the training. So seek out challenges to improve yourself. And again, with the integrity, do the right thing when no one is watching. That's integrity. So, company officer delegation. So effective company officer delegation. What do you want to accomplish? And again, a lot of times as a company officer, you may not have time to do things, certain things. You may have some projects that you want to get done, but you don't have the time to get done. Here's a perfect example or perfect time to get some of your members involved who may want to do things, and they can get out there and show off their talents. And it could get them excited, get them to increase their morale, get them motivated. So, what do you want to accomplish? So, if you have a project or a detail that you want to get done, select the appropriate firefighter. You should know your people by now, right? So, select the appropriate firefighter for that project or that detail, right? And then determine the level of delegation. So what that means is, how much decision-making authority does that person have? So when you're going to assign somebody or delegate somebody to do a job, they have to have basically rules of engagement. They have to have, parameters and things like that. So can they make decisions? It's like, all right, management by end state. So when we say management by end state, it's like, all right, this is what I want you to do. When it's done, this is what I want you. This is what I want it to look like. So I don't care. I don't care what you do, how you do it, or what you have to do. When you're done, if I tell you to build an elephant, I want an elephant when you're done. So how much authority does that person have? Can they make decisions? When you're doing this, okay, clarify the expectations and set parameters. If there's certain things, there's certain lines they can't cross. Maybe there's a certain amount of money they're only allotted, or if we have this project that I need you to do, but you can't spend over X amount of dollars doing it. If you think it's going to be more, then you're going to have to stop. You have to contact me and let me know. Hey, listen, Lou, it's going to cost more than what you allotted. What do you want to do? So that type of thing for setting parameters. And give the authority to match the responsibility. Right? If you're going to put somebody in a position of responsibility, you have to give them the authority to make decisions. So let's say if there's a special, there's a meeting involving some type of training, or maybe some SOGs, or there's with other departments or other companies, and you're sending that person there as your designee. You may need to give them the authority to make decisions instead of without you being there. So they may still be speaking for you, but they'll have the authority to say, yes, we can do that, no, we can't do that. Instead of just showing up and sitting there and having, well, I got to go back and talk to my company officer before I can make a decision. So again, give authority to match the responsibility. Provide background information. If you're going to give that person a job, give them all the information you have so they can accomplish the job, so they can win at the end. Provide feedback during the progress. You may want them, you may be watching what they're doing. You may provide some feedback. They may ask you for some feedback as far as if they come to a point where they're having some issues with the job. So that all has to be arranged. But with feedback, don't micromanage, right? They say, give the person the job and then get the hell out of the way. And the big thing with delegation of authority is you can delegate authority, but you always maintain responsibility. It's like no matter what happens, the captain of the ship is always in charge. And if something happens on that ship, the captain's responsible, no matter whether he was there or not. So your book talks about the leadership triangle, right? So the leadership triangle, it talks about effective leadership is based on trust and respect and leadership skills. So you become an effective leader when you gain the trust and respect of your firefighters. And you gain the trust and respect of your firefighters by knowing your job, having integrity, being fair, and leading by example. I can't put that any more clearer. Know your job, have integrity means do the right thing when nobody's watching. Be fair. It may be hard, but be fair, and they may not like it, but as long as you're fair and everyone gets the same shot and is treated the same, nobody can bitch. And again, lead by example. Don't ask your people to do anything you wouldn't do. And then there's post-incident analysis. And I believe there's going to be a project or a skill sheet that's going to need to be done on post-incident analysis. So if you look at a picture to the right, this is a company officer discussing tactics while repacking the hose. So this engine company just got done with a fire, and they're looking back at the building, and they're discussing, they're having a tailboard critique. So, what went right, what went wrong, could we do things better, things like that. So, post-incident analysis, try to have some type of debrief or discussion after emergency responses. These can be informal among you and your members. So if you get back to the firehouse, or you could do it right at the scene before you guys get back on the apparatus, get everybody together, just go over what everybody did, have a discussion. And again, it's not really a fault finding thing. It's more of, all right, how did everything go? Is there something, did somebody do something that maybe was not the best, didn't take the best action, they could have done it better? Talk it over so the next time you go out the door to a similar situation, things work out better. Now, talking about more formal critiques, I hate the term everybody did a good job. I went to so many critiques, and everybody did a good job. That's used after every incident. Well, you know what? A lot of times, one or more members' performance sucked. They didn't do a good job, and this needs to be addressed in private. Okay, don't be afraid to discuss alternate actions as a means of training. So if you're going to get into a discussion and somebody really screwed up, all right, so instead of saying everybody did a good job, you can approach it from, hey, you know what? We had this fire. A couple things didn't, maybe didn't go like they should have. I'll be talking to, some individuals off to the side later, see if we can find out what happened, and, give them some, a way to improve or more information on how we want to see that done. So, if you got some person that was terrible and they sucked, pull them off to the side and discuss it with them. So listen, you look like you had no clue as to what you were doing. So let's talk about it. And then we got to go back for retraining, get that person trained up so it doesn't happen